was saying I was dropping frames. Hopefully I'm not dropping too many frames. How is everyone this morning? 10:16 a.m. on July 24th, 2019. Don't know why I felt the need to say that, but hello! Welcome to the stream. Welcome to Nancy Drew number 15, The Haunted Bridge. We're on chapter 10. We got some good things going with a dude named Morty Barbecue. And my bangs are getting real long. They're in my eyeballs. And I don't want to cut them myself because I think I'll mess things up, but I may have to. And why am I dropping frames? Dude, bro. Hello, V-Budkey. V-Budkey is a wonderful streamer. So anybody watching on YouTube, be sure to go check out V-Budkey. She is also on YouTube. She does some great read streams. I'm eating some Cheerios. Stop dropping frames. It's the birthday girl! Hi, Summer. Happy birthday. Gonna be scrubbing and listening. How's your birthday going? Guys, am I dropping frames? I either feel like a small child or an old lady when I'm eating Cheerios. But I am an old lady at heart, so. I need to find something out. I'm going to an appointment this morning, or later in the afternoon, I mean, in the city. I want to see how far it is to do some boba, if it's on the way. $18. Is that on the way, though? Is that on the way home? I mean, it could kind of be on the way home. I don't know, I'll figure it out. My birthday is good, it's just been chill. I'm eating gummy bears and veggie straws right now, which is kind of gross, but also good, so there's that. Sounds good to me. You do you, girl. You do what you want on your birthday. I should get started. Okay. So when we left off, Nancy was looking for the gardener of the estate of the lady. You know, the lady. Wow, yeah, my bangs are really in my eyes. May have to cut them. My hair just grows so fast. And so she went to the estate, and the gardener was there, and she tried to talk to him, and he ran away. So that's what's happening right now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut these suckers. If it becomes too much, I may have to cut them on stream. Hair cutting stream. Has anybody done that before? Probably. Wow, my hair. I think I've had 3 or 4 washes and already looks pretty faded. And I think I wasted this wash because I either did not rinse out all the conditioner or I used not enough shampoo or something, but my hair is not that clean, so that sucks. So I wasted a wash. I'm gonna have to get my hair done again. Probably do it before I go to New York. I may be going to New York. I don't know if I've told anybody that. I think I have. Yeah, for a wedding. Maybe. I don't know. We still haven't gotten our tickets, but we need to. Because it's like in a month. Okay. Enjoy the lurk. I'm gonna get started. Write my timestamps down here. And I'm worried about this book coming undone because the binding is definitely undone. So we are on chapter 10. It is called Nancy Accused. Oh, don't run away! Nancy shouted as she pursued the gardener. I only want to talk with you. The frightened man glanced over his shoulder, but instead of halting, pedaled his bicycle all the faster. Breathless from running, the girl was compelled to abandon the chase. In deep chagrin, she watched the man vanish into the woods. Also, let me know if music is too loud. Sorry, I kind of forgot to ask about that. Oh, thanks, V. Okay, now why did he act that way? She speculated with a frown. Perhaps he wasn't the gardener after all, but some other person who had no right to be on the Judson property. With a shrug, she turned and made her way back to the automobile. At the hotel, Bess and George were awaiting her on the veranda, and she could tell by the expressions on their faces that they had interesting information to impart. Mortimer Bardescu won his match yesterday, Bess announced as Nancy sat down beside her. George and I took the liberty of asking the tournament chairman to see the scorecard. What did he have on number 16? Nancy questioned curiously. A 4! Imagine that. He should have been disqualified for cheating. Did either of you speak to the chairman about it? What would have been the use? George asked wearily. He would deny everything. Yes, that's true, Nancy admitted. I guess it's better to overlook it, although Mr. Bardescu's opponent should have won the match. Bardescu was ahead before he came to the 16th hole, George revealed. He didn't need to cheat to win, for the match already was his. He just couldn't bear to come in with a high score. It's disgusting, Nancy murmured. I wonder how the other matches are turning out. Let's walk down toward the 16th and watch some of the players. The fairway along the woods is always a critical place, Bess added as the girls arose. Many a match has been lost on that hole. They sauntered along, pausing at the 17th green to watch 2 players hold their putts, and then moved on toward the woods. Isn't that Sammy Sutter? Nancy asked presently, indicating a boy who could be seen just within the fringe of timber. I do believe he intends to hunt for my lost golf ball. He's peering into the woods, the identical place where your ball went in, Bess agreed. Sammy said he wouldn't go near the haunted bridge for $1 million. I tried to convince him that the spot wasn't haunted, Nancy said with a chuckle. I'm not certain that I succeeded. It was obvious to the watchers that the caddy feared to enter the woods. He seemed to be having a mental struggle with himself. finally gaining temporary mastery over his misgivings. He disappeared from view. The girls quickened their steps. "Let's have a little fun," Nancy laughed. Unable to resist the temptation, she gave a low, moaning wail, throwing her voice so that it seemed to come from the direction of the haunted bridge. The effect was astounding. Sammy uttered a wild shriek and came plunging out of the woods. He stopped short upon seeing Nancy and her chums, and a flush overspread his freckled face. "Oh," he stammered in confusion. "I thought that the ghost was talking again?" Nancy supplied, smiling. "No, we were just playing a little joke on you, Sammy." "I guess I'm silly to be scared," the boy admitted, hanging his head. "Everyone has fears of one kind or another," Nancy said kindly. "By the way, Sammy, I'm depending upon you to caddy for me this afternoon." "I'll be ready whenever you say, Miss Drew." "Then be at the first tee by 2:30. Our match will be a hard one." "You'll win," the boy said confidently, "and I'll be pulling for you all the way." The girls chatted with Sammy for a few minutes. Then, leaving him to search for the autographed golf ball, they walked back to the hotel for luncheon. In passing through the lobby, Nancy saw a letter in her room mailbox. Thinking that it might be a communication from her father, she stopped to ask the clerk for it. "Oh, it can't be from him," she observed in disappointment as she studied the handwriting. "I'll venture it's a note from your new admirer," Bess declared teasingly. The letter was indeed from Mortimer Bardescu. He wished Nancy luck in her afternoon match, offering the information that he had defeated his opponent by an easy margin. "If you win today," let me read it in his voice. "If you win today, we shall have to celebrate our joint victory," he wrote. "I shall look forward to escorting you to the dance at Hemlock Hall." "The conceit of the man!" Nancy fumed as she read the note. "He seems to take it for granted that I'll be thrilled to go." "I'd turn him down in no uncertain terms," Bess declared. "Think perhaps I'll go," Nancy said slowly. Bess and George stared in bewilderment. "Oh, not because I like the man. I detest him, but I have a great desire to attend a dance at Hemlock Hall, and unfortunately one needs an escort." "I don't see how you could expect to have any fun with that man," George said discouragingly. "I'd not be going for the fun of it. My purpose would be to study the guests, investigating work for my father." "Oh, well, that's different," Bess answered in relief. "By the way, 2 boys here at the hotel have asked George and me to the same dance. Did you say you would go?" "We haven't promised yet," Bess replied. "But if you want to go with Mortimer Bardescu, we could accept and all keep together." "All right," Nancy agreed after a moment's thought. "I'll tell Mr. Bardescu I'll attend the dance. And now let's have luncheon, for it will soon be time for me to play my match." When the girls later came from the dining room, the hotel clerk signaled to them, revealing that another communication had arrived for Nancy. This time it was a message from Mr. Drew. The lawyer had wired that he wished his daughter to meet him at the station early the next morning. The jewelry contained in the carved chest had been examined, and he emphasized the need of locating the owner of the jeweled vanity case immediately. "There's a chance I may see Margaret Judson at the dance tonight," Nancy thought as she read the message a second time. "For once, Mortimer Bardescu has actually done me a favor." It was after 2 o'clock as the girls walked to the first tee, and Nancy resolutely put aside all thoughts of the baffling mystery. Her opponent, a stout, muscular woman, nodded curtly as she tested out her swing. "This will be no friendly match," Nancy decided shrewdly. "Miss Allison is out to win at any price." They halved the first 3 holes as neither player seemed able to gain the advantage. Nancy was conscious that the other woman watched every shot like a hawk, hoping to trip up her opponent on some technical point of the game. Accordingly, the girl was very careful never to do anything which might be questioned. Nancy's hand pained her a great deal, but she made no mention of the handicap under which she was playing. At first she was able to pound out long, straight balls, but gradually she grew weary and found herself in one difficulty after another. Miss Allison won 2 holes in succession, and a look of smug satisfaction came over her face. It faded away when Nancy, fighting gamely, took the next hole, halved the following, and then one again to square the match. At the 16th tee, the match was still even, although Miss Allison held the honor of driving off first. She sent a long ball safely past the woods, and then it was Nancy's turn. As the girl took a backswing with her club, she let her mind wander momentarily. She began thinking about her father and the jewel thief mystery in which he was so deeply interested, with the result that her ball sliced wickedly, and to the horror of Sammy, it entered the woods. "Oh, too bad," said Miss Allison with a false show of sympathy. "I'm afraid that will put you out of the match." "Perhaps not," Nancy said cheerfully. "There's still a few holes to play." Summoning his courage, Sammy plunged into the woods, locating the ball in a deep hole by a tree. "It's almost unplayable," he told Nancy with a groan. Without a word, she asked for her mashie and struck the ball with all her strength. The shot was a remarkable one, and the ball sailed cleanly out of the woods. Even so, at the end of the hole, it was found that Nancy had taken one more stroke than had her opponent. "I'm afraid this is very nearly the end," Nancy said cheerfully, as they walked to the next tee. "I'm one down now, and..." She started to add that her hand was paining her dreadfully, but quickly broke off. She had no intention of giving up easily, and managed to tie Miss Allison on the 17th. As they played toward the last green, she put all her strength into each shot, wincing with pain each time. "A tie isn't enough here," she said grimly to herself. "I must win by a stroke, or I'll lose the match and be out of the tournament." A little crowd had gathered by the green to watch the players come in. Miss Allison, with victory so near, became excited and made a wild putt. Nancy then calmly dropped her ball into the cup, tying the match again. According to the rules, an extra hole must be played. As the two went back to the first tee, the crowd followed. An audience seemed to bother Miss Allison. Her drive was short, and her next shot went into the rough. She lost the hole by 2 strokes, and it was Nancy's match. Instead of offering congratulations, Miss Allison turned on her heel and walked away angrily. She was seen to enter the golf house office. "Oh, you're splendid, Nancy!" Bess praised her friend gleefully, while George gave her chum a hearty hug. Miss Allison wasn't a very good sport, was she? Her heart was set upon winning, all right. Blissfully unaware that Miss Allison had issued a complaint against Nancy, the girls walked slowly away from the golf course. A man came toward them from the office, and they could see by the expression on his face that something was amiss. "Miss Drew, will you come with me, please?" he requested quietly. "There seems to be a little misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Nancy echoed in astonishment as she followed the man. "Your opponent claims the match." "Why, I won it fairly on the 19th hole," Nancy replied with justifiable indignation. "There were many witnesses, too." "Miss Allison claims the match on account of the 16th hole," the man told her gravely. "She says that you moved your ball after it went into the woods." End of chapter 10. Steeping my tea here. The pomegranate tea. I believe it has pu'er in it, but I can't remember. I need to look those up. Scented tea leaf or something? Tucson? Scented tea leaf, Tucson. Pomegranate raz. Should have taken a picture of them so I could write down the ingredients. I got these teas from Tucson, and they do have some on their website, but not all of them. And I don't remember the ingredients in all of them, I definitely should have written them down or taken a picture. Because they had it listed at the actual tea house, but some of them are on here, but anyways. Break time for me. Break time at work or break time you'll be right back. I'm assuming you're at work if you're scrubbing baseboards. Or, you know, you're just doing it for fun. Cup of tea sounds awesome right now. What kind of tea? Ooh, just right. No break time at home. I'm scrubbing my own. You're scrubbing your own baseboards. Why? Who does that? I don't do it. We're repainting a room in our house. Okay. That makes sense. This is a little tart. I like blackberry tea. Ooh, that sounds nice. What brand? Or is it local? I've really gotten into local teas. I think we have a tea place here, but I've never been to it, which is kind of sad. So I should do that. I have another friend who really likes tea. I should just ask him and we should go. Excuse me. I should continue on. Republic of Tea. Oh, I've heard of that. I'm pretty sure I've heard really good things about that. Haven't ordered anything from them. Yeah, I think I've looked at their website, but I haven't ordered anything. Oh yeah, I recognize their cans. Nice. Ooh, is it blackberry sage? That sounds delicious. Women of Tea. Our Women of Tea Sri Lanka program benefits the women and families who make tea possible by bringing better nutrition, hygiene, and financial literacy to their communities. That is cool. Nice. That's awesome. So it's like an ethical tea place that provides Downton Abbey tea. Oh, they're the ones that make the Downton Abbey tea. They are. Bates Brambleberry tea. Okay, well now that I know where to get them, and they're much cheaper on here, I should get these for gifts. Estate blend. I wonder what the estate blend is. There's Bates Brambleberry tea, the estate blend, English rose tea, Grantham, organic Grantham breakfast blend, Lady Cora's evening tea, Butler's pantry blend, and Mrs. Patmore's pudding tea. I love it so much. Ooh, caramel vanilla. Cup of cake tea bags. What is that? Sorry, I'm getting real distracted by tea. Which is not hard. Yep. Their blackberry sage is my favorite. Sounded real good. Okay, I should continue. I love tea. I really want to like study it and learn more about all the processes the different types of tea, what makes a tea good. Like, I want to learn it. Tea talk is important. I wish there were, I mean, maybe there are classes somewhere. I know there are classes in China, but I don't know about classes in Oklahoma about tea. Maybe, I don't know. I just had an idea for a program at work. Like a tea program. If I learned about tea, I could like give a little presentation on it, and then we could like give tea samples. I don't know if there would be interest in that. Well, I came up with a program idea. Okay, I'll write this down. I haven't done a program yet. I'm pretty intimidated by it because it's a lot of work and you have to plan it way ahead of time. Tea Talk. That's a great name for the program. I don't know. I don't know what the interest would be. My other idea, which I got from our training person who was training me, because we were talking about it, he was like, you could do a like beginning Japanese program where they like write their names, or, and of course I'm thinking Nancy Drew. But yeah, I could do like, or we could do like basic kanji and names. The thing with the names is that I'd have to help everyone individually on their names. Like I'd have to write it out for them. But I guess what I could do is like show a diagram of all the katakana and then go around and write each person's name, and then they could look at the diagram like with the correct strokes and write it out and then do it. I don't know. I'm 100% into this idea. You should come to my program, V. That'd be fun if I could plan it for time you could come. But yeah. I don't know. I'll think about it. I have a bunch of tea books checked out right now, but I haven't read them yet. It would be fun. Like trying to arrange my hair so it's out of my eyes. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so coffee. Okay, this is chapter 11. I need to stop doing this with my pen. Excuse me. Okay, chapter 11 is called The Crumpled Telegram. Nancy was stunned completely by the false accusation. Why, how can you say such a thing? She demanded angrily of Miss Allison. You know it isn't true. It certainly is, the woman retorted, whirling about. I'm sure you moved your ball, for otherwise you never could have reached the fairway. I distinctly heard your caddy tell you that the shot was unplayable. Nevertheless, I made it, and Sammy will tell you so. I put no trust in a caddy's word. If you were so certain I cheated, why didn't you speak of it at the time? Nancy asked sharply. You seemed well enough satisfied when you won the hole. Bess and George had followed their chum to the golf office. Unable to remain quiet, they flew to her defense. Nancy has never cheated in all her life, George insisted angrily. You're just provoked because she defeated you. Tell it like it is, George. The tournament chairman looked nervous and worried. Now, let's be calm about this, he said anxiously. We'll try to decide this matter fairly. The match is clearly mine, Miss Allison snapped. Miss Drew cheated. Here, what's the trouble? Oh, I'm sorry. Here, what's the trouble? Asked a masculine voice from behind. The girls turned to see Mortimer Bardescu standing in the doorway. Excuse me. He repeated his question, and the tournament chairman reluctantly explained the difficulty. Why, Miss Allison's accusation is entirely false, the man responded officiously. It so happened that I was walking along the woods as the match was being played. I saw Miss Drew drive into the trees, and I watched her execute her shot. It was a beauty. Oh, thank you, Nancy gasped gratefully, and for the first time since arriving at Deer Mountain Hotel, she decided that Mortimer Bardescu had his good points. He's gotta be making this up. If everyone defends Miss Drew, I may as well drop the charge, Miss Allison said angrily as she walked from the office. She cast a look of hatred at Mortimer Bardescu and added, However, I don't believe that you were even near the woods. Nancy glanced quickly at the man, but his face was mask-like in its lack of expression. Had he deliberately lied in order to help her? Of course he did, Nancy. She could not be certain, but at any rate her conscience was clear, for she knew that she had won the match honestly. Don't mind Miss Allison, the tournament chairman said to Nancy after the woman had gone. She always loses hard. Then the charges will be dropped? Certainly. If she had any grievance, she should have made it known before the next holes were played. I'm sorry you were embarrassed, Miss Drew. Mortimer Bardescu followed the girls from the office, smirking with pleasure. Did you really see me play my shot? Nancy inquired gravely of the man. Why, certainly, he returned, his eyes twinkling. Didn't you see me there in the woods? No, I didn't. Well, you must have been looking the wrong way then. By the way, did you receive my note? Yes, Nancy admitted reluctantly. She was half inclined to say that she could not attend the dance, yet she did not wish to turn down an invitation to Hemlock Hall. Hiding her dislike for the man, she politely accepted his invitation to go with him that evening. Nancy could not rid herself of the conviction that Bardescu had lied about being in the woods. Later in the afternoon, she made it her purpose to inquire if anyone had seen the man at the time the match was being played. She was not surprised when a boy at the soda fountain recalled that Bardescu had spent nearly an hour in the hotel drugstore between the hours of 4 and 5. Mr. Bardescu told me not to tell anyone, the boy grinned, but I didn't promise to keep quiet about it. He wrote out a telegram while he was having his soda. Nancy waited eagerly, hoping that the boy, who so much enjoyed imparting information, would tell more. She was not disappointed. He wrote out 2 or 3 telegrams, but couldn't seem to get one that suited him. He left one wadded up on the counter, and I read it. You did? Sure, see, here it is. The boy took a crumpled paper from his pocket and waved it before Nancy's eyes. She was able to make out 2 words in the quick glance permitted her. The name of Margaret Judson. Want to read it? The boy invited. Nancy was sorely tempted, but she shook her head. No, I'm not interested in Mr. Bardescu's private affairs. The boy thrust the paper into his pocket again, and a moment later was called away to wait on another customer. Nancy left the shop. She sought her chums, wondering if she had made a mistake in declining to read the telegram. What connection could this Mortimer Bardescu have with Margaret Judson? Neither Bess nor George could offer a theory, although they were deeply interested to learn that the man had intended to communicate with her by wire. I caught only a glimpse of the writing, Nancy told her chums, but I'm sure it wasn't the same as those other samples of Mr. Bardescu's hand. Perhaps tonight you can induce him to write on your dance program, Bess suggested thoughtfully. I might try, Nancy agreed, but I judge he'll be too shrewd to do so. You want to be careful tonight, George warned, looking worried. If Mr. Bardescu should be an underworld character. I mean to use caution, Nancy returned, and I have a request to make. We leave the hotel at 8 o'clock. I'd like to have you girls and your escorts follow closely in your car. We'll do our best to keep you in sight, Bess promised. Then if anything should go wrong, you could just yell and we'd come dashing to the rescue. I trust there will be no need to send out an SOS call, Nancy laughed. Shortly before 8 o'clock, the boys who were to escort Bess and George arrived in their car. Nancy was worried for fear Mortimer Bardescu would ruin her plans by being late, but to her relief, he appeared within a few minutes. As he assisted her into a high-powered touring car, Nancy glimpsed her chums and their escorts in a nearby automobile, waiting to follow. For a time, her companion drove at a moderate pace, But when the road straightened out, he speeded up until the other car was left far behind. "Oh, let's not go so fast," Nancy protested anxiously. "We're only doing 70, Bartesque told her, stepping even harder on the gasoline pedal. "This is the way I like to travel." "Well, I don't. If you refuse to slow down, I'll never go with you anywhere again." "Oh, all right," the man grumbled, grudgingly reducing the speed of the car. After that, he drove at a moderate pace. However, in glancing back, Nancy was troubled to observe that the car in which her chums were traveling had been lost to view. "What's the matter with you tonight, anyway?" Bartesque demanded gruffly. "You act nervous." "If I am, it was your driving that made me so," Nancy answered a trifle irritably. For some minutes, they drove in silence. The girl was wondering if she dared broach the subject of the day's golf match. Finally, with an attempt at tact, she suggested to her escort that she felt he had told an untruth about seeing her play from the woods solely because he meant to be chivalrous. "I guess maybe that was the way of it," Bartesque admitted with a chuckle. "Did you really cheat?" "Certainly not." "Now don't get huffy," her companion said quickly. "It wouldn't make any difference to me if you did or if you didn't." Nancy had all she could do to control her temper, but she kept telling herself over and over that she would gain nothing by revealing her true feelings. Taking a different tack, she flattered her escort a bit, and when he was in a pleasant mood, casually asked him if he knew Miss Judson. "Margaret Judson?" the man inquired indifferently. "Oh, I met her in Europe years ago. A pretty woman, but boring." "Where's she living at the present time?" "I don't feel at liberty to tell you, Miss Drew. I happen to know that she doesn't wish her whereabouts to be revealed." "I rather thought she might be living near here," Nancy said, watching her companion closely. "Perhaps she is." Bartesque smiled. Another silence fell upon the pair, which was not broken until Hemlock Hall was reached. Nancy loitered as long as she dared in the dressing room, studying the various women who came and went. She was greatly relieved when Bess and George arrived, and they too were overjoyed, for they had feared that their chum might be in need of aid. "Try not to lose our car going back to our hotel," Nancy urged as she parted company with them. "In the meantime, you might keep your eyes open for a woman with a jeweled vanity case. If you should see one, report to me instantly." Mortimer Bartesque was provoked because his partner had remained so long in the dressing room, and his irritation grew as the dance progressed. He had intended to have the girl entirely to himself, but many young men cut in upon their dances together. They would scarcely take a turn about the floor before someone would tap him on the shoulder. However, in a few minutes she would be claimed again by the man who had brought her. The music was excellent, but Nancy did not enjoy dancing with Bartesque. Finally, she offered an excuse for escaping to the dressing room, and there maintained an alert watch for a woman with a jeweled vanity case. This night will be entirely wasted, I'm afraid," she thought in disappointment. "Miss Judson isn't here, and it begins to look as if I'll not find a single clue which will help my father's case." Nancy reluctantly went back to dance once more with her escort. Presently, when he absented himself from her side for a moment, she wandered into a small parlor adjoining the ballroom. The place was vacant. She turned to leave, only to halt as she heard a low murmur of voices. Two women were sitting on the porch and conversing earnestly. Through the open window, their words reached Nancy clearly. "But I tell you I have no money to give you for the vanity case," the one said in a harassed tone. "Please try to understand." "How do I know you didn't sell it?" the other asked harshly. The women lowered their voices, so Nancy was unable to hear anything more. She moved swiftly toward the window. Apparently the two heard someone coming, for they quickly arose and moved away, walking hurriedly toward the garden. The porch was dark. Nancy could not see the face of either woman, but she observed that one was dressed in a flowered silk gown which hung in long, loose folds. "I must learn who they are," Nancy thought excitedly. "One of those women may be Margaret Judson." End of chapter 11. Nancy gonna die. I'm cooking a pizza. What kind kind of pizza. It sure felt like Nancy was gonna die or something, I don't know. Welcome for clapping. Cheese and olive. Sounds good. Can I have some? Yeah, we needed, like, clasps. That's right. Clasps. I don't know how that happened. A typo. What was I gonna say? Shit. We needed different music for that scene. There's always scenes in cars in these books. We needed, like, tense music. Yeah, there's this weird, like, sour tartness to this tea. It's fruity, but it's tart. It's really good, though. Yeah, V, if you want to look at their tea from this place, let me, put the link in the chat. If you would like to take a look, peruse at your discretion. I like tart as long as it isn't overwhelming. Yeah, it's subtle. It's real subtle. But yeah, I haven't had many teas that are tart. At least hot teas. I mean, this would be good cold. The cold tea that I had when I was there was like a blend of prickly pear, which is apparently like a Tucson thing, or maybe just an Arizona thing. Oh my gosh, I need these. Sorry. I'm paying you back for me looking at the Republic of Tea. Prickly pear and green tea that had pomegranate in it, I think. But this is a different type of pomegranate. This one isn't on the website, which is really confusing to me. Pomegranate. Oh wait, it is. Pomegranate ras. I found it. Okay. Organic raspberries, essence of pomegranate. That's all it says. Sweeten the senses with a tart and tangy rush to the palate. Yeah, that sounds accurate. I swear when I looked at it before it wasn't on there. Some of them aren't on there. I also got this Chinese tea from Fujian province. The green oolong, fruit tones, sweet floral tones, and a hint of honey. I haven't tried it yet, but that should be good. What was the... Oh, Endurance was the one that which isn't on here. Endurance was the one I got that had pu'er in it. But yeah. The poor guy who helped me, because I asked to smell them, because that's the way you know if you want it, right? he was so busy. And like, right after I started smelling teas, a whole bunch of people came in and wanted to get a drink. Because it's a tea house, so they make drinks, but they also sell the tea there. Looks like I'm ordering tea on payday! Orange vanilla cream. Yeah, that one sounded good. Honey vanilla nectar. When's your payday? Is it on the last day of the month? We could make a pact to order tea together. Not that I need more tea. I have so much tea. I need to get it all organized and take a picture of it for you. Yeah, I just felt bad for the guy, but I gave him a tip, so. Because then after I got the tea, and I got 5 different teas, he had to weigh them, bag them up, all while helping other people, and he was the only one there. Promise me that if we ever get to hang out IRL, we'll go to afternoon tea and eat little sandwiches and drink tea. Yes. Unfortunately, I don't know of any place in Oklahoma that does that. That does high tea. I get paid on the 2nd. Okay. I get paid at the end of the month. So the 31st. If it's a weekday. I'm not sure. I think it is a weekday. Yeah, it is a weekday. So I get paid the 31st. Excuse me, you'll have to tell me which ones you get. Yes, we do need to go to high tea. Yeah, I would think there's places like that in Charleston, right? So I need to come to you, which makes sense anyways, because I think Charleston is probably cooler than where I live, so. I don't know, I've never looked. You know what? We may have places. They're just not in Norman. They're in Oklahoma City. Which is not, it's not like it's that far away. I don't like driving. Koala tea? Hold on. Is there a place called Koala Tea? V. Oh, it's bubble tea. But there is a place in Oklahoma City called Koala Tea. The only tea plantation in the US? Really? I wonder if they do tours. We should go! I didn't know this existed. Yep. They have macarons? See, they have macarons. Well, we have a lot of boba places, I guess. As far as... Okay, we do have a tea house. There's one in Edmond that looks... Oh, that looks super fancy. Inspirations, Eatery, and Events. Red Raspberry Tea Room? Okay, so there are places I've just never been. That one looks gross. Rita's Royal? That looks like legit high tea. That's a really cute picture. That's very flowery. It's a little too, like, pink for me, but here. I'm gonna have to investigate. Oh god, I'm sorry. Sweet, looks like we're doing both. Okay, sounds good. So either way, we will figure it out. I wonder if they... Yeah, I'll just... Wait a second. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Isn't that silly? Like... that I... There is a tea place in Norman that I've not been to. I don't know if it's a chain. Tea Ollie? I think it's local. Yeah, it looks local. Okay, so I do have a tea place here. I've just never been. Which is really sad. They have Kensington teapots? What the heck? Okay. I really need to go there. I'm gonna visit us in person for free samples daily. Heck yeah! Telephone call tea infuser. I do need better tea infuser stuff, so maybe I should go. I should. Okay, I'm gonna make a date with my friend Jacob, who loves tea. Okay, I'm excited. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, V. Okay. This has become a read stream with tea talk. Oh heck yes, go. I'm gonna text him right now. Be like, when are you free? Let's do this, please. It's just silly because I love going other places and seeing what they have to offer and like what their local stuff is, but then I never think about it. Like, I love local food in my town, but I don't think about other local things, like local tea. Because tea is usually something I get when I go other places. Like, I don't own any local tea. Not that our tea is local, but like tea from a local shop. Yeah, I gotta scope it out. Okay, I sent him a text and said, have you been to this place? I keep telling him that I want to have a tea party with him. You know what? If we can't, like... Ooh, I wonder if there's any, like, high tea... recipe books at the library. I'm sorry. Also, can I brag on our library system because our summer learning challenge was 1 million points. That was our goal. We made 3 million. High tea. There's a Hoopla ebook. The Diva serves high tea. Domestic Diva Mysteries. Elegant classics for the perfect... Oh, there's music! So, okay. I have music ready to go for high tea. The afternoon tea collection. Ooh. Ooh. Photographs of dainty tea time scenes with recipes on lavish high tea foods that range from finger sandwiches and... This is exactly what I want. Okay. I'm putting a hold on this. V, thank you for nerding out with me. I really appreciate it. very excited about that. What was my other hold that I got? Oops. I really like my library card number because it ends in 7777. Isn't that great? Oh, I have an overdue checkout. Oops. Oh, sweet. Hey, my book for the book club is ready. Okay, so I got some books for my display and the book for the book club. What is overdue? Oops. Somebody has a hold on this. And Splatoon cannot be I'll renew those. It is nice to work in the library system, can I just say that? Because even if they're overdue, we don't get fines. Yeah, there's a hold on it. Okay. Well. I wonder if Tracy has a hold on it. Alright, Tracy. Okay. Okay, hello. Focus. This is a read stream. Shame! Overdue book and you work at the library! Oh, you'd be surprised. How many books librarians check out and then they don't bring them back because they don't get fines. So one of my coworkers, she's full-time. She has tons of stuff that's overdue. They even have holds on them, and she's like, oh, I'll bring it in eventually, and like she doesn't even read them, which is the same kind of problem I'm having. I'm like attempting to read more than one book at the same time, and I am just so bad at it. I don't know how people do it. I love tea parties and high tea, so you're welcome. Domestic Diva Mysteries next read stream. I'll look into it. The covers are kind of whimsical. They're kind of fun. The diva runs out of time. Spelled T-H-Y-M-E. The diva takes the cake, the diva paints the town, the diva cooks goose, the diva haunts the house. I'll read one and see. Yeah, we should look this up. I know we have them because the covers are just so ridiculous. Okay. But it is, all that to say, I do recognize if there's a hold on a book, I want to get it back so the other people can have it. I mean, that's nice. That's a nice thing to do. So, my problem is, I'm not at work until Saturday. So maybe I could take the time between now and Saturday to read it. It's a graphic novel, so I think I could knock it out. And I waited for it for a long time, so I should read it. Yes, that's kind. Okay, I really should do some reading, because I have to leave at like noonish. So I got 45 minutes. So let's do this. Let's do this chapter 12 thing, which is called A Clue from the Caddy. Oops. 1:15. By the time Nancy had managed to unfasten the door and step out on the porch, the two women had vanished. Excuse me. She ran down the steps into the garden, satisfied that they had taken one of the many winding paths leading from the hotel. A number of couples were enjoying the moonlight, some idling near the fountains, others walking slowly up and down as they listened to the strains of the dance orchestra. Nancy darted here and there, searching frantically for the woman in the flowered dress. Suddenly, far ahead of her, she thought she saw the person she was seeking. In her eagerness to reach the woman before she could disappear again, The girl rushed blindly forward, running full tilt into a couple who were spending their honeymoon at the hotel. Oh dear. The startled young husband, just in the act of bestowing a tender kiss upon his bride, was nearly thrown off balance. "Oh, I beg your pardon," Nancy stammered, backing away in embarrassment. Taking another path, the girl continued her search for the woman in flowered silk, but she was nowhere to be found. At length, Nancy went back into the hotel and mingled with the guests in the lobby. There her efforts were rewarded, for she saw a woman in a flowered gown enter an elevator. Nancy was too late to catch the same lift, but she raced upstairs, reaching the next floor just as the elevator halted there. The lady who alighted was not the person she thought to be Margaret Judson. The girl hesitated, then deciding to take a chance, she said quickly, "I beg your pardon, but do you know where Miss Judson is?" The woman in question gazed at the speaker in surprise, but replied evenly, "Probably she's gone to her room." Nancy could not prolong the conversation, so she was compelled to allow the woman to pass on down the hall. Highly jubilant over the information she had gleaned, the girl hurried downstairs to consult the desk clerk, which, "You would not be able to do this in today's time, right, V?" "I understand that a Miss Judson is staying here," she said. "Will you please give me the number of her room?" The man consulted a book which lay on the desk. "The woman has just checked out," he reported. "Oh, are you sure?" Nancy gasped in disappointment. "Quite sure. She left about 10 minutes ago." "Can you give me her forwarding address?" "She left none." Even if he had this information, in today's time, you cannot do that. Privacy laws. As Nancy was recovering from her disappointment, Mortimer Bardescu sauntered into the lobby. "Oh, here you are, Miss Drew," he said with a trace of unpleasantness. "You don't seem to care for dancing this evening." "I didn't mean to run off," Nancy apologized quickly. "You see, I thought I saw Miss Judson here in the lobby, and I wanted to speak with her. Tell me, have you seen her tonight?" "Perhaps," the man answered with a mysterious smile. "Remember what I told you in the car?" "You mean about her not wishing to have her whereabouts known?" "That's right. Now just forget all about Miss Judson, and we'll enjoy this next waltz together." Against her will, Nancy was led back to the ballroom. She did not try to escape from her escort again. Shortly before the last dance, however, she found an opportunity to speak with her chums, requesting them once more to follow closely in their car during the ride back to the Deer Mountain Hotel. Despite Nancy's fears, the homeward drive proved to be uneventful. She tumbled into bed at a late hour, tired and more than half convinced the efforts of the evening had been futile. It occurred to her to wonder if Mortimer Bardescu had gone to the dance for the deliberate purpose of meeting Margaret Judson, but the thought was put aside quickly. She fell into a troubled sleep, to be awakened by the alarm at 6. "Who left that clock turned on?" Nancy moaned drowsily. Then she remembered that she had set it herself. Soon it would be time for her to meet her father at the railroad station. Giving herself 15 minutes in which to dress, Nancy snatched a cup of coffee at the hotel cafe, and then was off to meet the train. By 7 o'clock, father and daughter were seated opposite each other at a table in the station lunchroom. "Did you have a successful trip, Dad?" the girl asked as soon as they had given their breakfast order. "What did you learn about the contents of the carved chest?" "Here's a bit of information which may surprise you, Nancy. Only one article in the entire collection proved to be stolen property. And I'd say that is the jeweled vanity case." "Yes. The other articles could not be identified. Of course, they may have been stolen in this country very recently. At any rate, the jewelry, with the exception of the vanity case, does not belong to the cache known to be held by the gang of international smugglers." Nancy listened to a more detailed account of her father's visit to New York, whereupon she in turn told him of her own activities during his absence. "I was sure I had located Miss Judson at Hemlock Hall," she finished apologetically. "Unfortunately, she got away before I could talk to her." "We must bend all our energies toward tracing her," Mr. Drew said soberly. "From the clues you have gathered, I feel certain she's the person we're after." The lawyer wished to drive without delay to Hemlock Hall, and Nancy was very glad to accompany him. However, the trip proved to be a wasted one. Although they inquired at the railroad station and various garages and other likely places, no one could offer the slightest information as to where Miss Judson had gone. Mr. Drew and Nancy were compelled to hurry back to the Deer Mountain Hotel directly after luncheon, for the girl was scheduled to play in the semifinals of the golf tournament at 2 o'clock. As usual, Sammy served as her caddy. The match was a close one, but Nancy played an excellent game, scarcely noticing the pain in her hand. To the delight of her chums, she won on the 15th hole. As she finished out the round so that she might turn in a complete score, she jokingly asked Sammy if he had found her Jimmy Harlow ball. "I think I'll never find it now," he told her gloomily. "Maybe someone else picked it up." "Have you noticed anyone searching in the woods by the bridge?" Nancy inquired alertly. "This morning I saw an old man with a stick poking around in the mud by the bank of the stream." Nancy pressed the lad for a more detailed description of the person in question, but he was unable to give it. The girl said no more, but as she walked slowly back to the hotel, she reflected that Sammy unknowingly had offered her a clue which was worth investigating. "That old man may have been the Judson gardener," she thought. "Or possibly he was someone searching for the carved chest, which I found buried in the mud bank." Nancy was afraid that it might be too late to find the man, but she decided to make another visit to the haunted bridge immediately. Bess and George were very glad to accompany her, so the three girls set off across the golf course. They had gone only a few steps when Bess stopped short. "Here comes that pest, Mortimer Bardescu!" she exclaimed in an undertone. "Now what shall we do?" End of chapter 12. Listens with pizza. How's your pizza? You're gonna make me hungry, which is fine. Yeah, so the whole idea was that this carved chest in the jewels may have had something to do with this international jewel theft gang. But what's weird is that none of the jewels were stolen, it's just the chest. But all the jewels are in the chest that was stolen, so like how can the jewels not be stolen? Pizza is delish. Good deal. There's so many sports and games in indie books, maybe mini games in the games. Isn't that weird? True. And the golf, the mini golf in Clock, maybe this is where it came from. Since you were saying Deer Mountain Hotel, right? Maybe that's where it came from. Yeah, I was thinking, I think Carolyn, I don't know if Mildred, I don't know if Mildred wrote The Haunted Bridge, but whoever wrote it knows golf a lot better than they know football. Hey, you might be right. Just a thought. Did they say anything about Clock being based? Like, I feel like Clock is an amalgamation of a bunch of different books. Is The Haunted Bridge one of those books? Ooh, subtle shade. No, that's not shade, because I wouldn't know anything about football either. I don't think it's a bad thing to not know anything about football. The first 4 books. Okay. Right. But I think there's references from the whole classic series. Maybe we can tweet them. I don't know if they'd answer, but maybe we can tweet and say, we've been reading The Haunted Bridge. Does the golf... Did you get the idea of... How would we word this tweet? Did you get the idea for mini golf and Clock from The Haunted Bridge? Cause Deer Mountain... I don't know. Cause Deer Mountain Hotel. It'd be worth a shot. The shot. I see what you did there. We need to do some investigating. Okay, I'm gonna continue. Chapter 13. That's the best emote. A telltale photograph. Thinking very quickly, Nancy greeted the newcomer with a warm smile, asking innocently, "Oh, Mr. Bardescu, did my father see you this afternoon?" "Why, no," the man answered in surprise, falling into the trap. "Did he wish to speak with me?" "Well, I heard him say he was looking for a tennis partner. Dad is remarkably good at the game." Upon many an occasion, Mortimer Bardescu had boasted to Nancy that he excelled in the sport. In fact, according to his own story, he was an expert swimmer, a good skater, a superior marksman, and a fine rider. Tennis and golf, however, he claimed as his pet hobbies. "I see my father on the veranda," Nancy cried. Waving to her parent, she motioned for him to join the group. "Dad, I found a wonderful tennis partner for you," she declared as he came up. He suspected that Nancy wished to rid herself of Mr. Bardescu. While he disliked the man heartily, he was rather curious to test out the fellow's skill as a tennis player. Mr. Drew and Mortimer Bardescu sought the courts, and the girls made their way toward the haunted bridge. Dark clouds were moving swiftly overhead, and by the time the chums reached the woods, a strong wind was blowing. "Do you think it'll rain soon?" Bess asked anxiously, scanning the sky overhead. "Oh, not for an hour at least," Nancy replied carelessly. "Even if it should, we'll be partially protected by trees. Let's not turn back now." The girls struck off through the timber, and soon were within view of the old bridge. With the sun under a cloud, it was dark and gloomy beneath the canopy of trees. Bess shivered and kept close to her companions. Suddenly, they were startled to hear the same groaning sound which had frightened them on their previous visit. "Oh!" Bess squealed in terror, clutching George's arm. "There it is again!" Nancy warned her to be quiet, and for several minutes the girls stood perfectly still, waiting for the sound to be repeated. No one could be seen anywhere near the bridge. "I believe the noise came from far down the ravine," Nancy whispered after she was convinced that the groan would not be repeated. "Come on, let's investigate." After briefly searching the locality near the bridge, the girls turned their attention to the trail which had interested them upon their first visit to the spot. Footprints were plainly visible. Nancy wondered if someone had not used the path within the past 24 hours. "Let's not go that way today," Bess pleaded, reading her chum's thoughts. "It's growing darker every instant, and we don't want to be caught in a storm." Scarcely had the words been spoken when a shrill scream broke the stillness of the forest. This time Nancy was certain that the cry had come from far down the ravine. "Come on," she urged excitedly. "We'll solve this old mystery yet." She darted forward down the path, oblivious of the thorny bushes which tore at her hair and clothing. George and Bess followed as best they could, though with no zest for an adventure which might lead them straight into trouble. Suddenly Nancy halted. A short distance ahead in a tiny clearing she beheld a log cabin. Smoke was curling lazily from the chimney. "I didn't know anyone lived here in the woods," Bess gasped in surprise as she too observed the dwelling. "The scream seemed to come from that direction, too." "Yes," Nancy answered in a whisper. She was debating what course of action to follow, when the cabin door opened suddenly and an old man carrying a rifle was seen to emerge. The girls shrank back deeper into the woods, fearing for a moment that their presence in the locality was known to the stranger. But as he gazed meditatively up at the sky, they decided that he could not have seen them. "It's the same old fellow who is working near the Judson property," Nancy whispered to her chums. "I believe he must be the gardener." She was tempted to step forward and accost him, but recalling how he had run away in fright the previous day, she bided her time. "And he's holding a freaking gun! You don't want to just sneak up on somebody with a gun, Nancy." Let's watch and see what he intends to do with that rifle, she warned her companions. The old man shouldered his gun and, without glancing toward the woods where the girls were sheltered, struck off in the general direction of the Judson mansion. I believe he's only going hunting, George declared. Probably he's after squirrels. Cautiously, the girls followed. Suddenly, Bess tripped over a mossy log, and as she fell headlong in the trail, gave a faint outcry. The man with the rifle immediately halted and glanced back. Nancy and her chums crouched low. Apparently satisfied that the sound he had heard was made by some wild animal, the hunter slowly walked on again. Presently, sighting a squirrel in a nearby tree, he swiftly raised his weapon to his shoulder and took careful aim. There came a loud explosion as he pulled the trigger, and the girls saw a sudden flash of fire. They gasped in horror, for obviously something had gone wrong. The man uttered a sharp moan of pain and staggered backward, collapsing on the ground. "He's hurt!" Nancy cried. Forgetting everything else, she darted from her hiding place. The victim did not stir as the girls reached his side, and for a moment they feared that he was dead. However, as Nancy bent anxiously over him, she was relieved to see that he still breathed. A slight trickle of blood oozed from a wound in his forehead. "We must get the man back to the cabin," Nancy told her chums. Although the gardener was slightly built, the girls found themselves heavily taxed to carry him even the short distance to the clearing. He moaned several times, murmuring a name which they were unable to distinguish. The girls laid the wounded man gently on a bed, and Bess looked about in search of water. The bucket by the stove was empty, but remembering that she had noticed a well outside, she hastened to fill the container. George and Nancy worked over the unconscious man, bathing his bruised forehead and applying cold compresses to his temples, yet their best efforts failed to arouse him. "I don't know what more to do," Nancy admitted in desperation. "George, we must go for a doctor at once." End of chapter 13, which seemed really short. Nancy, that is how people die. Obviously, this guy doesn't know how to work his own gun. Always people knocked out in these situations. Welcome for clapping. I feel like this music is too calm. What else could... Well, it's called calm cafe music. Intense atmosphere music. Dark ambient music mix. Sure, we'll try it. Cryo chamber. This might be too dark. Ambient fantasy music. Let's try that.
How could this have happened?
Sorry, it was an ad.
There's something important to remember about it.
Ooh, it's snowing in this video. The Guild of Ambience, Enchanted Lands. Sure. It's very relaxing. Yeah, but that's not what this story is. The story is not relaxing whatsoever. This doesn't sound right either, but... yeah, this isn't gonna work. Epic ambient hybrid music mix. Why are these all starting out the same? This may be too epic, but we'll try it. I should try Disney World area music for some read streams sometimes. Ooh. Yeah, that sounds cool. Is it too loud? Turn it down a little bit. Okay. Let's just try this. Chapter 14 is A Mystery Explained. Let me run back to the hotel, George said quickly. I'd rather do that than stay here. I feel so useless just looking at that poor man and knowing there's nothing I can do for him. You're not afraid to cross the haunted bridge alone? Nancy asked quietly. George hesitated, then shook her head. With a storm brewing, the forest would be black as night. Of course she would be nervous, but with a man's life in jeopardy, she must put aside her own fears. Okay, this is perfect music. Shall I go with you? Bess offered. No, stay with Nancy. She may need your help. I'll hurry as fast as I can. Nancy took an old coat from a nail on the wall and flung it over George's shoulders. Wear this, she advised. When the rain falls, it will be a regular downpour. How do you know that, Nancy? You psychic now? George nodded grimly, and buttoning the coat about her, she hurried from the cabin. A cool breeze struck her face. She knew that the storm could not be far away. Hate to see her start off alone, Nancy murmured anxiously as she watched from the window. But I feel confident she'll make it. When George was out of sight, the other girls returned to the bedside of the old man. He was tossing about restlessly, and they tried their best to soothe him. You are good, he whispered once as Nancy held his hand. You are kind. Presently there came the loud patter of raindrops on the roof. Nancy arose to close the windows. One of the sashes stuck fast, so she looked about the kitchen for a tool with which to loosen it. Opening a drawer of the high cupboard, she was amazed to come upon an assortment of papers. Thinking that she might find a letter which would serve to identify the unconscious man, Nancy swiftly examined the documents. Unexpectedly, her hand encountered a faded photograph which had been kept between two sheets of stiff cardboard. The picture, taken at a studio, was the likeness of a beautiful young girl. Nancy stared at the photograph, and her heart leaped high. Across the bottom of the picture, in a bold scrawl, were the words, "To my faithful friend Joe Haley, Margaret Judson." Nancy's gaze went swiftly to the man who lay motionless on the bed by the window. Was he Joe Haley? And was Joe Haley the Judson gardener? The girl of this picture is the person I met in the powder room at Hemlock Hall, she told herself. My theory regarding her identity was correct. Nancy studied the photograph for several minutes, reflecting that it must have been taken in the days before Margaret Judson's life had become burdened with trouble. This man probably is Joe Haley, and the one person who would know where the woman lives, she thought. He should be able to tell me a great deal about her, if only he regains consciousness again. Nancy, aren't you going to close that window? Bess broke in upon her reflections. The wind is blowing directly across the bed. I'll have it down in a jiffy, Bess. Slipping the photograph into the front of her dress, Nancy found an implement and soon had the window closed. Before she could turn aside, a streak of lightning had flashed across the sky. At the same moment, the girls heard a wild cry which seemed to issue from a point only a few yards back of the cabin. What was that? Bess cried in terror, springing up from her chair. I mean to find out, Nancy said grimly, flinging open the cabin door. Don't leave me here alone, Bess pleaded, but her words fell upon deaf ears. Nancy darted out into the rain, determined to learn the cause of the weird scream. She moved swiftly toward the rear of the cabin, feeling certain that the cry had come from that direction. She glanced quickly about, but could see no one in the clearing. Just beyond stretched the woods, and as the girl gazed toward it, she caught the gleam of wire mesh netting through the trees. What can that be? She asked herself, and fearlessly moved toward the forest. As she drew closer, she saw that the wire netting comprised a series of cages. Nancy's amazement grew as she observed that the enclosures contained wild animals. There were several rabbits, some foxes, and one wolf, while in a particularly strong cage set up some distance from the others was a chained young mountain lion. As the girl cautiously approached, the animal threw back its shapely head and gave a scream which would chill the blood of any listener. Disturbed by the storm, the animals were scurrying about in their pens. Nancy wondered if the pets belonged to Joe Haley, but there was no opportunity to investigate further, for the rain was falling steadily. Not caring to get drenched, she turned and fled back toward the cabin. Midway across the clearing, Nancy heard her name called. Bess appeared in the doorway, motioning frantically. "Nancy! Nancy!" she called in distressed tones. "Come here quickly!" End of chapter 14. Why are these chapters so short? Yeah, this is good music. Epic butt-kicking music. Welcome for clapping. Yeah, what's up with the caging of wild animals? I don't like that. Epic but not distracting. Right. I saved it for future reference. I need to make a playlist of music that I use for streams. Okay, I'm gonna try to do one more chapter, depending on how long it is. It's chapter 15, Rambling Words. You have to clean your bathroom. Take me in your bathroom. Nancy reached her chum's side, thoroughly drenched and quite breathless from running. "What is it, Bess?" she asked anxiously, grasping the girl's trembling arm. "Is the patient worse?" "No, he's just the same." "Then what's wrong? Why did you call?" "I was frightened," Bess admitted ruefully. "I heard that dreadful scream again. I'm afraid to have you go into the woods alone. Something terrible might happen to you." Nancy was so relieved at her chum's words that it was difficult for her not to laugh. "There's nothing to fear, Bess. Those strange sounds we've been hearing are made by wild animals, pets that are kept in cages back of this cabin." "Wild animals?" Bess asked in a quavering voice. "Yes, I suspect they're the gardener's pets. The scream you just heard was made by a young mountain lion." Bess still looked unconvinced, and Nancy promised to show her the cages as soon as the rain slackened. "I don't want to go near that place," Bess said with a shiver. "I can't for the life of me see why anyone would keep wild animals on the place." Nancy went inside the cabin to sit at the bedside of the wounded man. There seemed to be no change in his condition. She wished that George would hurry back with the doctor. Presently the rain slackened, and the girl began to move restlessly about the room. "There's nothing I can do here until the doctor comes." Oh, sorry, that was in Nancy's voice. "There's nothing I can do here until the doctor comes," she said to Bess. "If you're not afraid to stay alone, I believe I'll go outside and look around again." Walking back of the cabin, Nancy gazed about the premises with a critical eye. The little plot of ground was well tended, with flower beds banked against either side of the building. To the right was a garden of vegetables, and as the girl paused to glance at it, she noticed many unfamiliar plants. Nearby stood an improvised hothouse made from old window glass, and Nancy felt certain that many of the plants contained beneath it were rare tropical specimens. "Why, I believe Mr. Haley must be a naturalist," she thought in some surprise. "He seems to have a keen interest in both botany and zoology." Convinced that the injured man was no ordinary gardener, Nancy wandered back to the cabin. Bess was relieved to see her arrive, for old Mr. Haley had begun to toss restlessly on his pillow. It was with increasing difficulty that she restrained him. As Nancy seated herself at the bedside, the old man rolled over and muttered a few words. She bent closer in an effort to distinguish what he was saying. He murmured something about a Miss Margaret a moment ago, Bess told her chum in a whisper. I couldn't make out anything but the name. For several minutes the patient lay perfectly still. Then his eyelids fluttered open and he mumbled, Please, Miss Margaret, don't stay away. I can't find it. I've tried, but I can't. His words ended in an incoherent mumble. A moment later, apparently under the impression that the pet mountain lion was creating another disturbance, he said in a clear, stern voice, Oh, you bad pussy, don't scream so. The poor fellow, Bess murmured to her chum. He's completely out of his head. What do you suppose it is that he has been trying to find? Nancy shook her head as she applied another cold cloth to the man's brow. She was desperately afraid that he might never recover, in which event he could not help clear up the mystery surrounding Margaret Judson. It seemed to her that George was taking a great deal of time to make the trip back to the Deer Mountain Hotel. She wished now that she had gone herself. What was that? Bess cried hopefully, springing up from her chair by the window. I thought I heard voices in the woods. Nancy flung open the cabin doors, staring in astonished delight as she saw 6 persons emerge from among the trees. George and an elderly man, whom the girls recognized as Dr. Ackerman, were in the lead, and directly behind him trooped Carson Drew, Ned Nickerson, and 2 strange youths. We'll have plenty of help now, thank goodness, she gasped. Ned and his friends must have arrived at the hotel earlier than they expected. Nancy led Dr. Ackerman to the bedside of the patient, whom he said he did not know. While he was making his examination, the girl had an opportunity to meet Ned's college friends, Bud Mason and Bill Cowan. We'd just reached the hotel when George came dashing up to tell your father you were in need of help out here, Ned explained. We all jumped into my car, and after driving as far as we could, we cut across the woods. May I have some boiling water? The physician requested at that moment, and Nancy flew to get it for him. Is the man badly injured? She inquired anxiously as she watched the doctor work over the patient. Can't tell yet, he murmured without glancing up. There seems to be a piece of shell embedded in his forehead. Will you take these instruments and boil them for me, please? As it became evident to the others that the doctor meant to remove the shell, they hastily retreated from the cabin. Nancy alone remained to assist the man of medicine. Have you a steady nerve? He questioned her. I think so, Nancy answered quietly. The operation was not a pleasant thing to witness, but at last it was finished, and the doctor declared that the patient had an excellent chance to recover. Have you ever studied nursing? He asked Nancy abruptly. Oh, no, I've only had training in first aid. You seem to have missed your calling, the doctor told her with a smile. You appear to have a natural bent for nursing. Nancy flushed at the praise. After helping the physician gather up his instruments, she went outside to inform her father and the others that the operation was over. Would you consider it advisable to transfer the patient to a hospital? Carson Drew presently asked the doctor. I'll be glad to take care of any expense involved. He shouldn't be moved for several days, in my opinion, Dr. Ackerman replied. He is in a state of semi-coma and will likely remain so for at least 24 hours. Who will stay with him? Bess questioned in perplexity. As far as we know, the man has no close friends or relatives. I'll remain here, Nancy offered quickly. That would mean you couldn't finish the golf tournament, said Mr. Drew. And you have an excellent chance to win. I should prefer to hire a nurse. A man is really needed about the place, Nancy commented with a troubled frown. Someone should take care of the animals. See here, why can't Bill and Bud and I stay? Ned proposed suddenly. We could look after everything. If the man should take a turn for the worst, we could call Dr. Ackerman right away. We'll be glad to do it, Bill Cowan added, whereupon Bud Mason nodded agreement. That would be a wonderful solution to the problem, Nancy said in relief. But it doesn't seem fair to you boys. You came to Deer Mountain for a good time. That hotel is altogether too swanky for us, Ned declared with an indifferent shrug. It would cost too much to stay there over the weekend. This place suits us. After some discussion, it was finally decided that the 3 boys would remain at the cabin. In the event the patient should fail to improve within 24 hours, a trained nurse would be sent from the city. The physician gave the boys careful instructions as to how they were to care for the patient during his absence. "I'll drop in again early tomorrow morning," he assured them. "Should there be any change before that time, notify me at once." "Don't forget to take good care of the wild pets," Bess urged the boys. "I wonder what one is supposed to feed a young mountain lion?" Ned asked in perplexity. "We'll send out some raw meat when we get back to town," Mr. Drew promised, "as well as some bedding and a few things you may need here." The Drew girl took Ned aside so that the others could not hear what she was saying. "There's something I wish you'd do for me, Ned," she stated. "Sure, what is it?" "I want you to listen very carefully to anything that Mr. Haley, if that's who he is, may say while he's unconscious." Ned glanced quickly at Nancy, but he refrained from asking for an explanation, even though he regarded the request as a strange one. "I'll be glad to do it," he promised. "I wish you'd take down every word in writing," Nancy added as she turned to leave the cabin. "The solution of a very perplexing mystery may depend upon your work." End of chapter 15. And I think that may be a good place to stop. See, Ned can be useful. He showed up in the nick or sin of time. How in the world did he get shell in his head? That's what I'm wondering. Does he not know how to use his guns? Then he shouldn't have guns. Or maybe the gun backfired on him or something. I don't know. It's very weird. Glad you like that, V. Okay, well, I think that is a good place to leave it for today. I will be streaming tomorrow. Oops, I need to find out what time to tell you. Good pun, good pun. So, oh, that's V's. I should be streaming tomorrow at 1 p.m. I'm going to do some Stardew. So I'd be happy to have you there. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a good rest of your day. You're being very productive. That's great. I need to be productive as well, but I do have an appointment to go to, so I will have to do that first. Oh, hi, Terry. Claps for chapter 15 in stream. Thank you. Thank you for clapping. I hope the rest of your stream last night was good. I'm sorry I couldn't get back to you. You finished before I could. Hello, Terror. Thank you for shouting out, Terror. Great streamer. Streams a lot of Pokemon, RPGs, that kind of thing. Thank you for the host. Have this at the most important time. I appreciate it nonetheless, Terry. Sorry, I love that bass line. It's like my favorite thing. Last playing Mario and Luigi. Bowser's Inside Story. Thank you for shouting out. V Budkey. Also a wonderful streamer. Yes. So thank you all for being here. I hope to see you tomorrow for Stardew at 1 p.m. Claps for singing. I was kind of humming, I guess. I don't know. I guess I was singing. I don't know. I'm weird. Anyways, I will let you know when the next read stream is. It will probably be next week. Claps for basing. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Much love from me to you, as V Budkey would say. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye!